Good morning. It is Friday, June 5th, Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshat Nasso. And as I mentioned yesterday, of course, we're well into it back here in Shul, albeit outside. And thank God the committee and the Shul officers saw to it that we should have a tent put up because the elements were not cooperating, but we were well protected. And the divine presence, I feel, was certainly with us when we davened yesterday in the morning, in the evening, and this morning as well. And I look forward to having that continue. We will be having davening for Mincha and Kabbalah Shabbos tonight at 7 p.m. We are not yet ready to do Shabbos, hopefully by next week. And then services will resume Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Please make sure that you sign up accordingly. And so far, the system is working quite well. I want to continue. We should daven for Refuah Shalema, for Mordechai ben Elka, Rav Rafal Zev ben Rickel, Gittel bas Sarah, and Noah Ali Spat Lilach Esther, Rezel bas Sarah, and all those who need our healing. I actually had a bit of sad news today. I was informed that a friend of our shul, Eva Nelson, many of you may know her from here in Livingston, but Eva Nelson, who was she passed away this morning, and she was a regular at our Tuesday women's class. And she always lamented when she had to go down to Florida for the winter because she was missing the class. And I actually saw her in Florida one time in a restaurant. It was a great reunion. But I actually spoke with her the other day, and I told her that we would daven for her and say Tehillim for her in our Tuesday class, which indeed we did. And she passed away this morning, but she even figured out how to do the Zoom and how to get on the video, and it always brought so much joy. And she was a pillar of the community here in Livingston, and a shtarka in our shir, and she will be sorely missed. So I hope that her family will find comfort in the coming days. I also have something exciting that next week on Thursday, I've put it together, I've arranged with here in Israel that we're going to have a conversation, a Zoom conversation, obviously, but a Zoom conversation with Eli Beer of United Hatzalah. That will take place next Thursday at 10 a.m. Everyone can tune in. Not to worry if you can't make it, because we will record it and repost it, but Eli will share with us particularly his experiences of having gone through being afflicted with COVID and recovering and subsequently getting back to Israel, getting back to himself. Any of you who know Eli, if you remember when Eli was here, he's quite the character, but to me he's a dear friend, and I'm pleased that he's willing to take the time to have this conversation with us. But again, we're just trying to expose everyone to the great work that he's doing, but also to help broaden our horizons during this time. I will continue to mention that our sponsor, this is the last day of the sponsorship for the week before Shabbos, the Shabbos Devar Torah, given by my dear friends, our family's dear friends, Eli and Steve Hammerman of Paradise Valley, Arizona. And of course, Eli will remind me today is June 5th, Big Joe D. Joe D on June 5th, number 5. But you'll see attached to the email, there are two pictures below. One picture is from the Israeli Day Parade 9 years ago, and that's another thing that we're missing out this year. There's no Celebrate Israel Parade. But 9 years ago when I was marching, we weren't living here in Livingston yet, when I was marching with our children's school, so I encountered the police commissioner, Ray Kelly. He was the then police commissioner of New York Police Department. And I went over and I said hello. We had met a couple of times, and I said, I have regards from Steve Hammerman, because Steve Hammerman, of course, was the deputy commissioner at the time. And I said, am I going to see you tonight? And he said, well, what's tonight? I said, well, Steve's son, Michael's getting married. And that was a big faux pas. And he's like, what do you mean? I wasn't invited? I'm like, oh, no, it's just it's a small ceremony. But the picture next to it, you'll see there's a picture of Ray Kelly and a younger version of me. And next to it, of course, was under the chuppah with Meredith and Michael, who today is celebrating their 9th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. And I had the privilege to officiate under the chuppah, and I had a privilege to see their daughter born, and to be at the naming, and to celebrate Simchas. And Michael's only problem that he has is that, unfortunately, he roots for the Islanders. So we're hoping that maybe he'll do tshuva one of these days. But nonetheless, we celebrate Simchas. But just to show you the rich history that we have between our two families, something that I hope will continue for many, many years to come. And distance, time make no difference. The bonds only get closer. So I want to share with you something from Rabbi Lamm, And this is just incredible. As I mentioned the other day, that Rabbi Lamm's sermons were published, and I'm going to excerpt from you a sermon that was given. I'll just read you the date. He typed his sermons. It was beautiful. He actually typed them out, and he would make handwritten notes. If there was a typo, again, this is before computers. If there was a typo or something, I could give you a glimpse. But if you look at the date, it says Nasso, June 10th, 1967. So I don't need to remind you what was going on June 10th, 1967. You can imagine what the feeling was like here in America. I remember it clearly. Okay, I wasn't born yet, but from what I hear, people remember it clearly, and you can imagine the passion and the excitement of right here on the cusp of the Six-Day War. It wasn't even called the Six-Day War yet because it was not really even over. Again, today's the day we think that the war started, etc. But you can imagine what kind of sermon that would be. And he has a beautiful, beautiful, erudite way of, and homiletic, putting together what's going on in the world. And there's so many different points that I could take from this, and I want to focus on one in particular. And the sermon is revolved around, in the Parsha, Birchas Kohanim, the threefold bracha that the Kohanim give. And I had mentioned in our women's class this week that one of the things that I missed the most during this period, and I know that the Kohanim as well, is that we missed two different opportunities on Pesach, first days and second days of Pesach, and on Shavuos to hear Duchening, since we don't hear it that often. So his concentration in the sermon is on the phrases of Yivarecha Hashem Yisharecha, etc., etc., and I want to share with you what he says about the last part, V'yasem lecha shalom. And he says the third and greatest blessing, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Hashem will turn his face to you. Hashem will grant you blessings of peace. A word that we're throwing around quite a bit these days. Quite appropriate, the Yalkut, which is a form of the Medrash, comments that Gadol HaShalom she'afilu b'sha'at milchama tzrichin l'shalom. Peace is so great that even in times of war, it's necessary to have peace. Apparently what the rabbis meant by this remark is that war should never be absolute even when it's necessary. There should always be some specific residue, some opportunity left for establishing peaceful relationships. Even in the course of war, we might find peace, or we must find peace. And here Rabbi Lamm adds his own insight. And it's just his beautiful way of being able to take a simple phrase in a Medrash, in a Gemara, in Pirkei Avos, wherever it might be, and to really fine-tune it. And this is a gift, this gift of homiletics. However, I should like to express a deeply felt hope based upon a paraphrase of the statement of the rabbis. I would prefer to read, Gadol HaShalom she'afilu b'shat shalom tzrichin l'shalom. He says, now that we have learned to find peace and unity in the times of war, he says, may we, in looking ahead, strive for the blessing of peace even during peacetime. So instead of saying, she'afilu b'shat milchama tzrichin shalom, he changes it to afilu b'shat shalom tzrichin l'shalom. Even in a time of peace, we should have peace. May we learn to cherish this fellowship and oneness even when we are not threatened from without. We must make a new start, not for superficial uniformity, but in always asserting the underlying oneness of the people of Israel, even while disagreeing and arguing with one another. That even when things are fine, we still need peace. And this is so true. Right now, we perhaps stand unified. Right now, we were all in the same boat as far as Corona and being trapped inside and not being able to daven. But now that we're starting to crawl out of it a bit, let's make sure that we maintain that level of peace. Furthermore, as the events that have unfolded in the world, in our country in particular, in the last number of days, we've seen a lot of opinions going back and forth, even from within the Jewish community, about what our proper response, reaction should be, who's right, who's wrong, who's this, who's that. We still have to, and it's okay to disagree, and you have to respect someone else's opinion. But at the same time, we always have to maintain shalom. There has to be civility, there has to be the ability to agree to disagree, and there has to be peace during peacetime. One of the things that I'm always grateful for the Hammermans, besides being involved in so many of their family simchas and charitable endeavors and just simply good times, is teaching me how to be a better rabbi, teaching me about what it means to respect opinions with those with which you disagree. And in our world, that happens a lot. I mean, anyone who studies Talmud knows you can't go 2 lines without a disagreement in the Talmud. But it doesn't mean that because I disagree with you that I don't like you. It doesn't mean that because I disagree with you that I'm right and you're bad. That's not the way we go about things. Even in times of peace, we have to have peace. And that's so important. And I keep saying that, especially now that we're starting to reemerge gently back into society, that let's hope that we don't go back to our old ways, that things are not ever going to be the way they used to be. The good things, yes, but those which needed improvement, let's hope that even in our times of shalom, that we'll have a new level of shalom. So with that, again, I want to thank the Hammermans for their generosity throughout this week, but more importantly for 2 decades of wonderful friendship and guidance and caring for me and for my family. And I want to wish each and every one of you, especially in light of the words of Rabbi Lamm as his family is sitting Shiva this week, for this great, great pious person, a leader in Klal Yisrael, tremendous thinker, orator, and person that we should all have got to know. But I want to wish you, in the light of his words, Shabbat Shalom. May our peaceful Shabbos have peace within it as well. Take care.